Well, good morning. We're hanging out at the fire pit here with the youth group tonight, and we're looking at Psalm 71. And one of the verses in there says, verse 5, "You have been my hope, O sovereign Lord, my confidence since my youth." And so I'm going to let them share a little bit tonight about places where they've had confidence in God or where they have seen hope rising up, especially in recent times.
I have confidence that God will be there when I need Him.
One way that I've seen God's hope throughout this whole journey has been through my friends and family bringing gifts over to our house.
I have confidence in God because when we had the water balloon fight at church, we got to gather up without anyone having any incidents during it, and that it all just went smoothly and everyone had the fun.
One way that I've seen God working and I found confidence in Him is getting my new job, and that I know that I will do well if I have God with me.
Seeing friends during quarantine.
So I got hope when we were still able to learn from home, even if we couldn't go to school.
Cool.
I got hope by the one person during all of the riots wearing a t-shirt that said "Free Hugs."
I've seen hope through the number of people coming to church and the rising of tithing and the rising of numbers of people coming and wanting to experience God in a different way, even if it may be hard during these times.
Well, we did have such a good time with the kids out at the campfire. I'll just give you a quick overview of some of the other readings coming up this week. We're back in Leviticus 3-6, where there's more offerings. And you'll notice that the sin offerings are not just fixing things between humans, but actually there's a consequence between us and God, even when I mess up with other people. And that needs to be taken care of. On Wednesday, we'll hit 2 Kings 16-19, and we'll see Ahaz, another terrible king, destroying temple pieces to compromise with the king of Syria. So all the stuff that's in Leviticus that's so precious and important, it's like all that just gets thrown out the window. But in chapter 18, we'll actually get one of two good kings in this book, Hezekiah, a real hero of the faith. And he actually takes a bronze statue that Moses made. Remember, he lifted it up and it healed the people. Jesus even mentions it in John 3 as kind of a symbol for himself. But unfortunately, that serpent had become like an idol to the people, where they were actually literally worshiping the item instead of the God that created it or had it created for them. And so Hezekiah had to destroy that. You know, it's like, which extreme are you on? Do you take your worship too casually, or do you take your worship too obsessively and have to almost turn it into an idol? You can imagine I tend to be a little bit too casual, but where's your line and how do you deal with that? It really brings up some good questions. In Jeremiah 27-30, we'll hit on Thursday, and we'll see the looming problem with Babylon getting ready to come in, take everyone away, be deported. It's just a nightmare of judgment. But we do get a fun little moment with some dueling prophets where Jeremiah and Hananiah have it out. And spoiler alert, Hananiah gets killed. It's a great moment in prophetic fighting. But probably the most famous and misunderstood verse in Jeremiah is coming up in Jeremiah 29. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for your welfare and not for harm, plans to give you a future with hope." Maybe you've even had that memorized or had it up in your house somewhere. And just like Romans 8:28, all things God works together for good. People misunderstand it to think that somehow God is causing all of these things, or perhaps in Jeremiah 29:11, the idea that somehow everything that happens is for our good. Well, yeah, ultimately it's for our good, but this is written in a letter for Jeremiah, and in that letter he says, oh, by the way, you're going to be in captivity for 70 years. That's just right after he says, "For I know the plans I have for you." So sometimes God's timeline and ours can be a little bit different, and that's a real challenge when we read those famous verses in Jeremiah. Finally, we wrap up with Job 14-16, and we get some more depression prayers, more accusations from his friends, and then this verse that sums up my feelings about this long back and forth. Here's what Job says. He says, "I have heard many such things, miserable comforters you all. Have windy words no limit? Or what provokes you that you keep on talking. It's like this book never ends. Eventually, Job's going to see God himself as his enemy, and he's going to take his case right to the Almighty. So that's what you've got to look forward to this week. I'll let the kids finish out for us, and have a great, great week.
Megan's
so ready.
I'm so ready.